Hi, I'm Anthony Gibbs. This is video 2, or the second video today, or whatever it is. I'll try a few different topics. I'll try to break things up for you into segments. Now this topic concerns, I'll get on the record because just recently there is this removal of Confederate statues. I was looking at the Young Turks and I saw Cenk Unger and Ms. Kasparian talking about, well, take your racism, take your history, well, they're traitors and all the rest of it. You know, Cenk, and look at my face, and anybody else too, look at my face. And before I even say one more word, I am not no Uncle Tom Negro. And all who know me sure as hell know that. No. With that being said, I don't like the whitewashing of history. One might say, well, that's what they were doing, putting the Confederate statues out there, because indeed the Klan, many of those statues were made between the 1880s and whatever else, when the resurgence of the Klan white supremacy, when they had control of the situation, they wanted to make sure that their heroes were out there in the square and they were important, and those heroes are the ones that put their foot down on their lessers. And to keep that memory alive, that they have betters, and they are the betters, hence the statues. One might say that by those statues being up there and they were the main focus, that is a whitewashing of history. My response is, yes, so what? Because instead of removing something, another opportunity that is there is for you to actively tell your story along with the side of that story. It is to build another statue across town with Harriet Tubman or Sojourner Truth or Frederick Douglass statues. Get people to organize, to put their money where their mouth is, and build a whole bunch of statues around the South to rival the Confederate statues that are there too. Because they were there, okay? You don't have to like somebody or something to acknowledge their existence. Even some of their heroic qualities. I'm sorry, but being a racist in and of itself doesn't make you the devil himself or the devil herself. It just makes you a racist. Then we gotta ask ourselves, how much racist stuff is in our hearts? I think the harder question is, with the Confederates and the rest of it is, why does it resonate still? They sit up and say, oh, what are they supposed to white trash, or they're just stupid. No, they're people. And somehow that message resonates. Maybe the truth is, we want to believe that we're better than somebody else. Maybe the truth is, we want to understand the world on our terms and not on the next person's terms. Maybe we want to have local control over our own concerns. I think there's a big problem, okay? There's a really big problem when we need to whitewash history or insult or demean one set of histories next to another set of histories. Even people did that towards you. And not to digress, but why must it be? Look, I mean, it's like the question that, your mom would ask you, why must you be bad because little Steve is bad? You go to the office in kindergarten. Well, little Jimmy was throwing erasers. Doesn't mean that was right. Well, little Jimmy was doing it and getting some laughs, doesn't mean you got to throw erasers too. Maybe some of y'all don't understand what I'm saying when I say that. But the same logic applies here. All because the white supremacist types, whomever else, were mean and ugly, or because they wanted to demean one side of history of another, doesn't mean that we have to do the same thing, or we even should do the same thing. You tell your story alongside of that story. You go and do your own, papers like hell. One might say there are 60, 70 years of scholarship preponderance concerning their stories, their heroes, their villains. Well, start writing your own articles about your heroes, your stories, your villains. Do it now. And leads us to the last thing. What was it all about? What was really being fought for in the Civil War, and how does a romantic notion still be hung on to? Essentially, what it meant to be a man, especially in the Anglo South, was, and you were a gentleman, it was about control. When you fought a duel, you had to comport yourself a certain way when facing death. There were rules, long-listed rules. And as one recent video I watched on the subject enlightened me to, or kind of reiterated to, this was about establishing mastery over not only the blacks around you, but the whites around you. And you have to do it, and it's done away not just pure force, because children conduct themselves a certain way. If you're not of that ilk, if you don't come from a family that means nothing, then you ain't nothing. And you gotta make a name for yourself to call yourself gentleman. And I think in the psyche of America, even though the practicing of dueling faded after slavery ended, many of other concepts still remain, in our dark heart. And that is the notion of one is a gentleman defined on how much control they have and how much they can impose their will and their meanings on others. So what I believe you see when it comes to the white supremacist types is, and those types who believe in things, you can be not white and believe in the same principles, is that some people just see themselves in comparison to others. And I believe that capitalism has a lot to do with that too. That body, because here in this new century, where it became about the products you consume and the services that you consume, defining your character, defining who you are, defining your status, it's very easy now to say because we have these things or we're about those things, it shows our, or it's the manifestation of our innate supremacy. And you can still see it even with news coverage when you look at things, somebody is in control, not emotional on those things, It looks like they're a gentleman. It looks like they have their ducks in a row, so to speak. When those are more emotional, you can see it, that person is seen as less of a person, or seen as somebody who does not have a grip on themselves. But having a grip on yourself, well, that's the nature of being a gentleman, right? And we still say, gentlemen and ladies nowadays, even I do. So, as much as we don't like it, the behavior of the planter class, their ideals, they're still with us. And they're carried by all Americans. I mean, what do you want to do? We want to get a big house, go to the country, and have servants. That's all. That's all they wanted. They just cut the cost of the labor. And the whole point was to display your wealth in a not too ostentatious kind of way. And to have the way you do things be done. And part of that was to make certain that your betters knew their place, or their lessers knew their place. That's what this to today, right now. The Southern plantation system was based on the Virginia model, which was based on how the English kept slaves, basically. So what that means is that the notions of being lord of the manor and those things and having your estate home, it just goes back to our roots as a country. And that's colonies. So I'm not sure how you remedy that. So that's why I say again, getting rid of statues is not going to make it all go away. All it does is just make somebody feel better. So as much as I respect, Chen Gunger and Miss Kasparian, I have to disagree with them. Anybody else out there, you see this video and it makes me appear as if, I've sold out, well, think what you like. But when you're done thinking of that, did it really change reality or history? Or did it just make you feel better later on?